concept, but imagine this. Your girlfriend or significant other is killing the D, right? Now, this topic came about because I noticed that in my E-Function intensive, this happens to keep popping up. So imagine this, you've been married or dating someone for a really long time, and she or he has found this mecca that makes them feel so good and so wonderful that they have decided to put it on you. And it has to do with your diet. They've told you to go vegan and that it's going to make you so much healthier in so many different ways. Well, today I've got to talk about the fact that I honestly always believe that everything in moderation works better than very restrictive diets. And veganism is no different. So some of you who are die-hard vegans are going to get mad at me. So let's just get right into it. Now, the issue with being vegan isn't the fact that that you have access to all of these amazing vegetables and things like that. The problem is that historically speaking, humans have eaten meat to the point that even when we couldn't, even when we didn't have the tools, millions of years ago, what did we do? We tried. We took the leftovers that the animals ended up leaving for us, right? And eventually we evolved to the point where we could actually hunt ourselves. So is meat bad? No, it's not bad. And it may be bad for some people, but to call it bad would be leaving out a big part of the story, right? Because if you get meat that's organic, that's been grass-fed, that hasn't been pumped with hormones and antibiotics, you're actually going to be in a pretty decent space. So let's go through and talk about the ways that your girlfriend or your wife's diet is killing the D, all right? So first off, I want to talk about this thing called omega-3 fatty acids. Now, with omega-3 fatty acids, they're so important for so many different reasons. Mainly, they strengthen the nervous system. They lower oxidative stress. They reduce inflammation. They increase nitric oxide production, all of which are so important when it comes to the D. Now, it's an essential thing. And I feel like when you're vegan or vegetarian, you decide to try to get this omega-3 fatty acid from amazing things like avocado, sometimes flax seeds. The problem with this is that when our body takes in ALA, the whole idea is that we want it to turn into two different types of omega-3, right? We want it to turn into EPA and we want it to turn into DHA. The problem is that when you get it from a plant-based diet, it readily changes things into EPA, but the DHA ends up being lacking. And when DHA is lacking, which is it's an essential fatty acid, it's so important for so many processes in our body. Not only does it make it hard to produce happy hormones, it makes it hard for you to get an erection, right? So when gentlemen come into my E-Function intensive and they're vegan, one of the things that we have to do is try to backfill a lot of these processes that I'm talking about, because in a lot of instances, without you really knowing the science behind the vegan diet and what you're missing, I feel as though the vegan diet can destroy the D, right? So let's take it one step further. Now, when you're vegan or you're vegetarian, one of the biggest things that you do is that you spend a lot of time on rice, not rice, but peas and beans, because that ultimately becomes the best form of protein for you. Well, this is great, and I love peas and beans. As a matter of fact, I have to kind of put them in moderation for my kids because they love them so much, because when all of your protein is coming from a plant-based diet and you're loading up on the kidney beans and you're loading up on the peas, there's something in our kidney beans and our peas. The reason, remember back in the day when mom was cooking them on the stove, she would cook them for hours and hours and hours. And I don't know if they knew this or not, But what they were doing is they were actually trying to destroy something that's called lectin, which is an anti-nutrient. And this anti-nutrient can mess up your gut. Now, we don't talk as much about gut as I would like to, but your gut actually has the bacteria in it that becomes the powerhouse, the cornerstone of what is happening in your whole body. So if you have too much lectin in your diet, you can actually destroy the gut by leaking too many toxins into the gut. Those toxins can leak out into your body, and you can end up having really bad gut issues and really big health issues altogether. So you have to be very mindful of the fact that you should, in fact, take your beans and your peas, and they should soak overnight, and you should cook them for a really long time because you want to get some of that lectin out. When we're talking about omega-3 fatty acids, this is going to be tough. Some of you are going to need to take omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil, right? But if you're going to stick to being a vegan, try algal oil. Algal. It's because what's happening is you're getting it from the algae. You may not even want to do that if you're vegan, but I'm telling you the D will suffer if we don't backfill some of these pathways, right? So then the next part of it is that, unfortunately, what happens when we take on a restrictive diet is we're constantly like, so I can't eat this, but I can eat this, so I might overload on it, right? So unfortunately, what happens when you are void of meat products is you don't get enough vitamin B12. So a lot of you have decided, hey, that's okay. I'm going to take a vitamin, and this vitamin is actually going to help me with my B12 levels. Well, it sounds great in theory, but unfortunately what happens with a lot of B12 is that you're taking a kind that can't be readily absorbed. So I always advocate if you're going to do B12 and you really need it and you're a vegan, you should do sublingual based, meaning the kind that goes underneath your tongue and either melts or sits there and gets into the system that way. Because when you swallow it and it sits in your stomach, sometimes it may not dissolve because of some of the gut issues that might have developed because of your vegan diet. So you want to go sublingually, or you can even go into your clinic, see your physician, and get shots or IVs, shots actually, not IVs, of vitamin B12. So you got to be mindful of B12 because the only source that we can get B12 from are animal-based. You cannot get B12 from any plant-based things, and it's so important for so many different things. It can create different forms of anemia. It can, of course, kill the D, but it can lead to heart palpitations, shortness of breath, nausea, weak muscles, numbness, tingling, soreness of muscles, pale skin, even coming in and having lots of ulcers, sores in your mouth. Doc, my tongue hurts. I'm getting all these canker sores all of a sudden. Well, they may not be canker sores. They might actually be signs of pernicious anemia, signs that your vitamin B12 levels are low and that you need to raise them. And if you find that you're thinking that your B12 levels are low, you can actually get them tested. You can ask your doctor to test them, and there's a lot of home testing kits available as well. And then what you can do is backfill the pathways. So you can actually go ahead and get your sublingual or get to your nearest functional medicine place that can actually give you a B12 shot and actually start to increase some of those levels of B12. But mind you, if you're deficient in it, don't go and take a bunch of capsules or pills or whatever they're telling you they are. You want to try the sublingual underneath the tongue version so that you can get that in there, right? Then the next thing I find that a lot of us are focused on, okay, I can't eat meat, but I can eat pasta, right? How many vegans do you know blew up or got bigger once they got on this diet, right? And the problem with too many carbs is this. Carbs are amazing when they're fresh and from the earth. But unfortunately, too many carbs, we've done this, the potatoes, right? The pasta. Too many carbs can not only lead to increased levels of inflammation in the body. We know what inflammation does to the D, right? It actually impairs blood flow and can interfere with and cause oxidative stress. So the tissue of the D actually starts to get fibrotic, but it also can lead to something called fatty liver. Because what happens is that when you're putting these these processed carbohydrates into your body, you're raising your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is going up. So the insulin levels go up because your body's like, oh my God, I gotta just figure out how to do this. Fat can set in and fat starts to creep into the liver. The problem with what we call fatty liver is that once your liver starts to become fatty, now your body has trouble processing toxins. The liver is designed to help you detoxify your body on a regular, ongoing basis. When the body starts to get what we call fatty liver, you actually become impaired in your ability to detoxify your body, right? So those toxins actually can build up. Estrogen can build up. And all of those byproducts of things that we need to come in already and we want them to go out, they never actually get a chance to leave. So what we have to do is not only monitor how many processed carbs that you take in, but you actually want to limit them. If you're doing a vegetarian or vegan diet, you have to load up on the green leafy vegetables. You've got to load up on things that are from the earth and not just potatoes, not just corn, because potatoes and corn and pasta and all that carb-rich stuff like that will in fact raise your blood sugar, increase inflammation, and actually lead to problems with liver issues. And that's how we end up blowing up on our vegan diet instead of actually getting smaller, which is what you would expect, right? So just to recap and to review, you could potentially be killing the D if in fact you go to one of these restrictive extremes and you don't backfill the pathway, particularly if you go vegan and you don't supplement your omega-3 fatty acids, not just the kind that comes from plants, but the kind that comes from the sea, right? And then that's the reason why the Mediterranean diet is so helpful for guys who have erectile issues. It's because it's so rich in omega-3 fatty acids. The other part is when you're getting your peas and your beans and your legumes, you want to try to focus on a pathway where you're actually using making sure that the lectin has been removed from them. So how do you do this? You actually are cooking them for long periods of time. You're letting them soak in advance so that we're getting rid of some of that lectin so that those peas and those beans can actually be really healthy for us. The other part of that is you've got to cut back on processed carbs. You've got to understand that stuff like corn and potatoes and pasta, they go straight to sugar. They lead to a spike in your insulin levels. They actually can increase inflammation and destroy the integrity of the blood vessels that we need to deliver the blood, right? So too many carbs can kill the D. Too much sugar can kill the D. Too many products that have high levels of lectin can interfere with the D. Actually getting to the point, and one thing we did not mention, but I feel like I mention it all the time. I'll never forget a young boy comes into the office. He has delayed onset of puberty. And so I'm working with the mom. We're doing a workup. We're trying to figure out what could be the issue. Why is this boy's testosterone levels so low? What we found out is that at the dollar store, they had actually released this fantastic bar that he was eating every day. He'd eat it for breakfast. He'd put it in his lunch. He'd put it in his dinner. And when he brought the box in, it was a soy-based bar. And what that soy was doing as a plant estrogen is that it was destroying his body's ability to make his hormones. So there's a lot of debate out there whether soy is great for guys or not. And I will go ahead and every day say that something we give to women when they're having hot flashes to help regulate their hormones is not going to be healthy and effective for guys when we're really trying to boost testosterone and lower estrogen levels. So I am going to stand on the soapbox today and say that yes, there is a lot of data on both sides. A lot of people have done studies. The soy industry, which is so big in the United States of America, has done plenty of studies to show you that soy can be very helpful and healthy for guys, but I beg to differ. So if you are vegan and your girlfriend has decided or your boyfriend has decided that you should be vegan too, I want to make sure that you have the tools necessary to make sure that your vegan diet does not destroy your D. All right, so I'm Dr. Rachel. We got new videos every week. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with all the vegans